I used to think friendship meant loyalty, support, love. I used to believe that the people who clapped the loudest during your highs would at least hold your hand during your lows. But that belief shattered the moment life forced me into a cheap apron, a tight ponytail, and the greasy smell of burgers and fries. My name is Ariana Davis, and before all of this, I wasn't just a waitress. I was the girl who once walked alongside billionaires, my best friends, or so I thought. We attended the same prestigious private school, wore uniforms that cost more than a month of my rent now, and dreamed of ruling the world together. But life has a twisted sense of humor. My father, the owner of a thriving tech company, passed away unexpectedly. Debt came next, like a storm swallowing everything in its path: our home, our security, our future. Lawyers got richer while we got poorer. Within months, my mother and I were scrambling to survive. That was when Waitress became my identity. I remember my first shift at the Silver Spoon Diner, a place where the neon sign flickered like it was deciding whether life was worth living. The floor creaked with every step, and the scent of burnt toast hung in the air constantly. My uniform was itchy, 2 sizes too big, and a coffee stain on the collar welcomed me before the customers could. "You'll be fine," Mom whispered that morning, squeezing my hand from across our tiny kitchen table. She tried to smile, but her eyes were tired. I had become the provider. At 18, I had traded college dreams for minimum wage and tips that depended on patience and forced smiles. Still, it wasn't the worst part. The worst part was facing them again. My so-called friends: Alex, heir to a hotel empire; Bianca, fashion princess with a designer bag for every hour of the day; Leo, crypto prodigy and self-proclaimed genius. They lived in a world still paved with gold, while mine crumbled into dust. They showed up at the diner one sunny afternoon, walking in like they owned the place, because they owned everything. Bianca wrinkled her nose at the sight of me holding a tray. "Ariana?" she gasped, voice dripping with fake pity. "You work here?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, can I take your order?" Leo leaned back in the booth, smirking. "Didn't your dad leave you millions, or did you burn through all the money partying?" My throat tightened. I swallowed the hurt and said nothing. Alex laughed. "This is kind of iconic, though, a billionaire brat serving burgers." Their laughter echoed, and something inside me cracked, but didn't break. Because I realized something. They were only comfortable with me when I was on their level or lower. As I poured their drinks, I overheard Bianca whisper, "She's basically a maid now." The humiliation burned hotter than a grill, but I held my head high. I refused to let them see me crumble, even as their words stabbed deeper than knives. After they finished eating, they left without tipping, not a single dollar, just a dirty napkin left on the table with a scribble of cruelty. "Guess you need this more than we do." I took the napkin, crumpled it, and shoved it into my apron pocket. Not because I wanted a reminder of that humiliation, but because it fueled something inside me. A spark, a promise. They can mock me today, I thought, but one day they'll regret it. Life didn't end in that diner. It began. Because that moment, their laughter, their entitlement, their arrogance became the push I didn't know I needed. I wiped down their booth with steady hands and a fierce heart. I wasn't going to stay a waitress forever. I had dreams inside me larger than their trust funds could ever buy. They thought I had fallen, but I was rising. And, like every rise, it was going to be loud enough for them to hear. 2 weeks passed since that humiliating afternoon, but their laughter still clung to me like grease that never quite washes off. But humiliation does one powerful thing. It forces you to decide who you'll become next. I worked double shifts, stacking dollars and coins like bricks in a castle I hadn't built yet, but would. Every night, as my feet throbbed and my back ached, I stared at the ceiling of our tiny apartment and repeated the same mantra. One day, I will own more than they can ever dream of. One day came sooner than I expected. It was a Friday evening, the diner packed with noisy families and teenagers taking advantage of free refill sodas. I rushed from table to table, balancing trays and fake smiles, when my manager, Marisol, called out, "Ariana, table 6 wants to speak to you specifically." That was strange. Customers rarely requested me unless it was to complain that their burger looked too sad or their fries weren't crispy enough. When I approached, I saw a sharply dressed woman sitting alone, tapping on a sleek tablet. She had the kind of confidence that made the room bend around her presence. She peered up at me through elegant glasses. "Ariana Davis?" "Yes. Do I know you?" I asked. "No, but I know your father." She motioned for me to sit. "May I?" I hesitated. I was still holding an order pad and notepaper covered in ketchup smudges, but curiosity dragged me into the seat across from her. "My name is Victoria Hale. I was your father's legal consultant before his passing." My heart stumbled. I sat up straighter. "I've been searching for you," she continued. "Your father was in the middle of finalizing a patent for revolutionary software, something that would have changed the tech industry." I blinked, slowly, trying to process. "My father?" I whispered. "But we lost everything. The lawyer—" "Robbed you," she interrupted. "But here's the truth. Your father's patent was approved after his death. The intellectual rights legally transferred to you, his only heir." Heat rushed through my chest. "What does that mean for me?" She smiled, a powerful, world-shifting smile. "It means, Ariana, you are about to be very wealthy." I sat frozen. My fingers shook so badly I had to put down my pen before I dropped it. Victoria slid a folder across the table. "I represent several investors prepared to buy partial rights. You'd still retain ownership and control, but you'd receive enough funding to start a company or 5. For a moment, the diner noise faded. The flickering neon became a spotlight. My greasy apron felt like it was dissolving into dust. My dad had still been looking out for us. "How much?" I breathed. She leaned closer. "Enough that you'll never need to worry again." Tears stung the back of my eyes, not from money, but from the vindication. The universe wasn't cruel after all. It was patient. The following months were a blur of signatures, meetings, and flights. Investors wanted me. Tech companies wanted me. People who never looked twice at me before waited eagerly for my approval. And I wasn't a clueless heiress anymore. No. I studied, I learned, I fought to understand every detail of my father's invention. I poured my heart into bringing his dream to life. By the time I turned 20, I was the CEO of a rising tech empire with offices in 3 major cities. Headlines flashed my name. Waitress turned CEO, Ariana Davis creates the next big thing. From diner to dominance, the girl billionaires underestimated. Davis Innovations poised to disrupt global market. Reporters lined up for interviews. Investors begged to be involved. My company's valuation soared into the billions. But the best part? I never forgot who laughed first. Months later, I walked into the penthouse office of my newest building. Marble floors, skyline views, and success in every reflection. I wore a tailored white suit, sharp, confident, powerful. Marisol, my old diner manager, now sat at the front desk wearing a stylish blazer. I had offered her a leadership role the moment my company opened its doors. "Are you ready?" she asked, with a grin. "For what?" I teased. She laughed. "For them." I didn't understand until I stepped into the lounge. There they were. Alex, Bianca, Leo, the elite trio. They looked smaller somehow. Alex cleared his throat and forced a smile. Ariana, wow, you look amazing. We, heard about your success. Bianca twirled her hair, eyes wide with disbelief. You're the Ariana Davis? We didn't know. You never asked, I replied. Leo stepped forward nervously. We were hoping we could reconnect, like old times? Old times. The napkin flashed through my mind. She's a maid now. I smiled, the kind that hides fire beneath elegance. I appreciate your interest. My voice was steady, but I'm afraid those days are long gone. Their expressions twisted, confusion, panic, regret. Oh, how quickly the mighty fall, and those they once mocked rise higher. Inside, I whispered to the girl who once scrubbed sticky diner tables. We made it. And Karma? She answered beautifully. Their stunned silence filled the glossy room, reflecting off every marble surface like an echo of Karma itself. Bianca's perfectly shaped lips parted, but she couldn't find words. Leo looked like someone had unplugged his confidence, and Alex, the fearless hotel heir, stared at me as if I were a ghost from his past. Funny, back then I was invisible to them. Now I was all they could see. I didn't prolong the moment. If I did, my heart might have softened, and they didn't deserve that privilege. I have a meeting waiting, I said crisply. If you'll excuse me. Ariana, please, Alex blurted, stepping forward. We messed up. We shouldn't have treated you that way. Bianca nodded vigorously. We were young and stupid, and jealous, honestly. That startled me. Jealous? Me? The girl they mocked for smelling like fries? You always had something we didn't, she continued, eyes flicking away. You were kind. People loved you without your money. We relied on ours. For a split second, I saw vulnerability in her expression, but the memory of their cruelty resurfaced like a slap. Leo shoved his hands in his pockets, mumbling, Is there any chance we could start over? Start over, as if trust were a switch they could flip on and off. I gave them an impeccably polite smile, the kind business taught me. Thank you for coming. I wish you all the best. And with that, I walked away. Their regret-filled eyes burned into my back, but I didn't turn around. Not this time. They had lost the right to follow me. Stepping into the boardroom, I instantly relaxed. My team, brilliant, loyal, hard-working, rose to greet me. They weren't here because of my last name or my past. They chose me for the future we were building. Good morning, everyone, I greeted. Victoria, now my company's COO, gave me a knowing look. Old acquaintances? Old mistakes, I corrected softly. The meeting began. Talk of expansion, new partnerships, life-changing software updates. Every decision I made shaped the future my father dreamed of. I wasn't just wealthy. I was purposeful. I owned my destiny. Later that evening, I attended a charity gala, my first as a keynote donor. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and wealthy elites dressed in diamonds. Cameras flashed as I stepped onto the red carpet. Miss Davis, over here. Ariana, smile, please. Ariana, what are you wearing? I smiled gracefully, answering questions with polished confidence. The reporters loved me, the girl who rose higher than anyone expected. Inside, I mingled with CEOs, politicians, and industry leaders. Everyone wanted a moment with me, a handshake, a photo. For once, I wasn't chasing connections. I was the connection. Standing by the grand fountain, I caught my reflection in the crystal clear water. Same face, same eyes, but stronger, wiser, untouchable. Ariana, a voice called behind me. I turned, expecting another investor. Instead, I saw Bianca. Her mascara smudged, her posture defeated. She looked smaller under the chandelier lights. What are you doing here? I asked, gently but not warmly. I needed to talk. She swallowed hard. Look, I know sorry doesn't fix everything, but I am sorry. I was a terrible friend. I stayed silent. I thought money made us special, she continued, but when my dad cut off my allowance, all my friends disappeared, except you. Her voice cracked, and I wasn't there when you needed me. For a moment, I glimpsed the lonely girl under her designer armor. You hurt me, I said quietly. I know, she whispered, but can you forgive me, even just a little? I took a breath, steady and controlled. Then I shook my head. She flinched as if I'd struck her. I don't hate you, I said, but I won't go backward. I worked too hard to heal. Tears welled in her eyes, but she nodded before turning away. Watching her walk off, I felt a sting, not of sympathy, but of closure. Some doors are meant to stay closed. As I climbed into my luxury car that night, the city lights glowing like falling stars, my phone chimed with a notification. A headline: Davis Innovations, the most influential tech brand of the year. My chest swelled with pride. For all the humiliation, for all the tears, for every cruel laugh I endured, this moment was worth everything. I wasn't looking for acceptance anymore. I wasn't chasing people who never valued me. I had built my own table, my own empire, my own life. And if they wanted a seat now, they'd have to watch from afar. If someone had told me years ago that my billionaire friends would one day come knocking on my door, not with arrogance, but desperation, I wouldn't have believed them. But life changes people, especially when all the money in the world can't protect you anymore. It began one morning when Victoria entered my office looking more concerned than usual. "Ariana," she said softly, placing a newspaper on my desk, "you need to see this." Bold headlines screamed from the front page. Bankruptcy hits Belmont Hotels. Alex Belmont removed as CEO. Bianca Russo's fashion line collapses. Luxury empire sold after scandal. Crypto crash leaves young investor Leo Hughes millions in debt. My chest tightened with a strange mix of emotions. Shock, sadness, and something I couldn't immediately name. "That's all three of them," I whispered. Victoria studied my expression carefully. With great pride comes great vulnerability. They built their status on wealth, not wisdom. I stared at the articles, the same names that once laughed as they ordered extra milkshakes just to watch me carry them with shaking hands. Now, they were the ones carrying the weight. I didn't smile. Success didn't taste as sweet when others choked on their failures. For the rest of the day, I couldn't focus. Their faces drifted through my thoughts, mixed with old memories I thought I had buried. Laughter echoing in school halls, sleepovers filled with secrets, whispered dreams of our future empires. We said we'd rise together. Somewhere along the way, they forgot that. It wasn't long before the first one reached out. Bianca showed up again, but this time she didn't wear designer clothing or glamorous makeup. She wore exhaustion. Her voice shook as she stood in my lobby. "Can I please talk to you?" I led her into a private room. She didn't speak at first, staring at her hands as if she barely recognized them. "My father won't help me anymore," she whispered, "and my so-called friends scattered as soon as I lost everything." Tears slipped down her cheeks, silent, fragile. "I'm alone, Ariana. I don't expect forgiveness. I just don't know who I am without money." Her vulnerability pierced deeper than her insults ever did. I handed her a tissue. "You weren't cruel because you were rich, Bianca. You were cruel because you were scared. And you still are." She nodded, crying quietly. "Thank you for not walking away," she managed, "even now." She left with her shoulders a little higher. Maybe hope weighed less than shame. A week later, Leo sent an email. Subject line: "I deserve the consequences, but I need help." He confessed he had lost millions in bad crypto investments. His ego had cost him more than money. He no longer trusted his own decisions. "I mocked you for working a real job," he wrote, "yet you became the one who understands real value." I invited him to our next financial literacy workshop, a program our company started to help young entrepreneurs avoid the very mistakes he made. When he arrived, he barely met my eyes, but he listened, took notes, and thanked me without excuses. Growth doesn't always arrive with applause. Sometimes it arrives with humility. Alex was the last to appear. Late one evening, long after most employees had gone home, I found him sitting alone in the lobby, staring at the floor. His suit was wrinkled. I had never seen him imperfect. "Ariana," he said quietly, "I don't know where else to go." There was no arrogance left in his voice, only defeat. "My family's hotels are gone. Investors bailed. I failed everyone." I sat beside him. No distance, no titles. "You didn't fail," I said calmly. "You just never learned to fight without privilege." His eyes glistened, but he forced the tears away. "I don't expect forgiveness," he murmured, "but I'm sorry, truly." I took a slow breath. The memory of that napkin resurfaced again, but so did memories of friendship, of him standing up for me once long ago, before wealth hardened him. People are more than their worst moments. "I believe you," I said. His relief was silent, but heavy. After that night, everything changed. I didn't welcome them instantly back into my life. Trust isn't a door that swings open just because someone knocks. I watched their actions instead of their words. Bianca began volunteering at a women's shelter we funded. Leo attended every financial workshop and started rebuilding from scratch. Alex joined a community business program, learning leadership the humble way. They were learning to live without the pedestal. And something beautiful happened. They became better versions of themselves. Not glittering, not untouchable. Human. One afternoon, after a company milestone celebration, I found the three of them waiting outside my office. But they didn't look anxious this time. They looked hopeful. "Ariana," Bianca said softly, "we just wanted to thank you for not turning your back on us forever." Leo nodded. "We're still making up for the past, but we want to do it as real friends, if you'll let us." Alex stepped forward, voice steady. "You didn't just succeed. You helped us rise when we fell. And that's what a true leader does." Their sincerity warmed something inside me that had been locked away. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting the pain. It's about allowing healing to happen. So I gave a small smile, the first genuine one I had shared with them in years. "Let's start small," I said. "We'll rebuild the friendship at a place that's healthy." Their eyes lit with gratitude. They didn't gain back the same Ariana they once knew. They gained someone stronger, someone they couldn't break again. Success didn't change me. It simply allowed me to choose who deserved space in my life. And maybe, just maybe, people deserve a chance to grow past their mistakes. If you would have told the version of me in the diner, hands aching, tears burning behind a forced smile, that one day I would stand here, overlooking a spy line built with my own determination, I might have laughed in disbelief. But here I was, CEO, innovator, billionaire, not because I stayed angry, but because I chose to rise anyway. Months passed and the world continued to learn my name. Davis Innovations expanded globally. Schools taught students about the software that changed the tech world. Teenagers waved at me excitedly when I visited campuses to speak about leadership and resilience. Even news reporters stopped asking about my past as a waitress. Now they asked, "What inspired you? What gives you strength? What's next for Ariana Davis?" Each time, I answered with the same truth. My beginnings didn't define me. My choices did. One sunny Saturday, I decided to treat myself to something ordinary, a walk through the very neighborhood where I once delivered food waitressing shifts. Familiar sidewalks, old streetlights, the air carried nostalgia, not pain. As I passed the Silver Spoon Diner, I paused. The neon sign still flickered stubbornly, refusing to burn out. Just like me. I pushed the door open. The same bell above the entrance chimed, sending me back in time. The leather booths, the greasy aroma, the chatter, all unchanged. Marisol spotted me instantly and grinned. Look who's slumming it with us again. I laughed as she wrapped me in a hug. I wanted a taste of where it all began, I said. You always did love our fries, she teased. I sat in my old section, table 9, the one where I used to rest my feet for a stolen second of peace. I could almost see the ghost of the girl I once was, wiping down the table with tired hands but fierce hope. My chest warmed, not with sadness, but pride. As I left the diner, a voice called out behind me, "Ariana!" I turned. There they were, Alex, Bianca, and Leo, walking together, a united front, just like before, but changed in all the right ways. You were at the diner? Alex asked, slightly out of breath as if they hurried to catch me. I was, I smiled. Thought I had to pay a little tribute to my beginnings. Bianca stepped closer, worry flickering across her features. Are you okay? Better than okay. I'm happy, I said truthfully. Leo exhaled, relieved. We were hoping we could all talk, properly. For them, I made time. We walked to a nearby park and sat at a bench beneath an old oak tree, the kind that had seen thousands of stories before ours. Alex spoke first. We've been working hard, building real skills, real character, real purpose. That's good, I said, genuinely proud. Bianca squeezed her hands together nervously. We want to earn our place in your life, not because of who you are now, but because of who you've always been. Leo nodded. We finally understand what true wealth looks like, and we're sorry we didn't see it sooner. Their words were sincere, not desperate, not entitled, just human. I took a deep breath. For a long time, I began, I thought the only way to heal was to shut you out, to prove you were wrong about me. And I did succeed, but what I learned is that success means nothing if you spend life trying to make others feel small. Bianca's eyes glistened. Leo whispered, We never deserved your grace. Maybe not, but grace isn't given to those who deserve it. It's given to those who truly seek it. I smiled softly. I forgive you, all of you. The breeze stirred the leaves above us, like the world itself sighed with relief. Their eyes filled not with triumph, but gratitude. What followed wasn't a magical return to old times. It was better. We started from zero. No lies, no superiority complexes, no broken promises. We volunteered together at local shelters. We collaborated on charity projects using their new skills. We talked about the future with maturity instead of entitlement. They helped me launch a youth mentorship program, teaching business mindsets grounded in resilience, empathy, and integrity. Stories like mine, stories like theirs. We became allies in a mission bigger than any of us. One afternoon, during a summit we hosted together, I stood backstage watching them speak passionately to a room full of young dreamers. No longer cold or arrogant, they had become leaders who lifted others. And I felt something powerful, pride, not superiority, pride. Because forgiveness doesn't make you weak, it makes you unstoppable. Later that night, after the last guest left and the stage went dark, Alex approached me with a quiet smile. You know, that day at the diner, I thought we were untouchable, he said. But you were the one who became untouchable, not because of money, but because you turned pain into purpose. I met his gaze, steady and unshaken. We all rise eventually, I replied. Some of us just start on the ground first. He nodded with respect, the first he'd ever shown me without a hint of ego. As I rode home, the city lights sparkled like constellations, reminders of how high a person can climb when they refuse to stay buried. My phone buzzed with a new headline. Ariana Davis, honored for transforming lives worldwide, from Waitress to global inspiration. Yeah, that felt right. I stepped onto the balcony of my penthouse, the wind playing with my hair. Far below, people lived their stories, some rising, some falling, all trying, just like we did. I closed my eyes and whispered to the memory of the girl in the apron. We did it, with strength, with grace, and with a heart they couldn't break. Forgiveness didn't erase the past, it redefined the future. And together, the girl who once served tables and the friends who once locked her, we were writing a new story. We all learned that true wealth isn't money. It's growth. It's kindness. It's choosing compassion even when revenge looks easier. I used to think karma was punishment. Now I know. Karma is education. And we were all finally graduating. I hope you found this story interesting. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and also hit the notification bell for more stories like this. Thanks for watching.